Έχουμε το πρώτο gameplay beta του Chrono Odyssey. Πάμε να το δούμε μαζί.
All right, what is up, guys? The gig is up. I got to play Chrono Odyssey in an exclusive beta test before basically the rest of the world got to play it. So I'm going to give my thoughts. I tried literally every single...
Προφανώς και ένας super beta tester λέει ότι θα δοκιμάσει τα πάντα, να σκυπάρουμε λίγο χρόνο. Μπορείς να φτιάξεις πλήρως το χαρακτήρα σου, την κάθε λεπτομέρεια πάνω στο χαρακτήρα σου. Πάμε να ρίξουμε μια ματιά λίγο σε αυτό.
But never fear, there's a ton of customization, like rivaling Black Desert Online levels of customization that you can...
Μοιάζει σαν το Black Desert Online, όποιος έχει παίξει. Μπορείς να κάνεις την κάθε λεπτομέρεια, βλέπουμε εδώ πέρα.
Do with your character. I did not spend a crazy amount of time on this, but like I can see people getting lost in the customization screen menus of this game.
Μ' αρέσει πάρα πολύ να κάθομαι να φτιάχνω τον παίχτη. Παίζει πάρα πολύ μεγάλο ρόλο σε τέτοια παιχνίδια που θα ξοδέψει αρκετό χρόνο πάνω σε αυτά. Να φτιάξει ένα παίχτη που να σ' αρέσει πραγματικά.
It does not leave you wanting. You can literally move just about everything. And for those wondering, yes, there is a boob slider. There is in fact a tab named breasts. And there are 3...
Έχουμε 3 sliders για το μέγεθος των breast. Πολύ ενδιαφέρον. Πολύ σημαντικό.
Sliders. Not one boob slider, not 2 boob sliders, but 3 booba sliders.
Θα το παίξω σίγουρα το παιχνίδι.
In the game. There's also a butt slider as well, and a cock slider for those of us who might be either gauge or maybe...
Υπάρχει επίσης η ρύθμιση μέγεθος του ποπού και η ρύθμιση μεγέθους του πέους για όποιους ενδιαφέρονται. Νομίζω ότι έχουμε δώσει αρκετή έμφαση στη λεπτομέρεια.
Somebody that is bulging a little bit in the front. So hey, you know, it is what it is. So definitely super base Korean devs as usual. I chose a female berserker and I had no regrets. I had a lot of fun with it. Now, when you spawn into the game and you get into this, I want to explain this as kind of a the atmosphere of this game is kind of like...
Λοιπόν, θα το πω μία γρήγορα. Η ατμόσφαιρα του παιχνιδιού είναι τρομερή. Νταρκίλα, σκοτεινίλα, τύπου Dark Souls. Τα πιο σκοτεινά σημεία του είναι λίγο σαν thriller, μπορείς να το πεις. Είναι πολύ ωραίο. Πάμε να ρίξουμε μια ματιά. Δες εδώ τώρα ατμοσφαιράρα.
The world, and this is why I say it's a lot like Elden Ring. You spawn in and you essentially have these massive monsters all around you. It's also got elements front to teach players that like, hey, you don't necessarily need to like, follow the main story progression of the game.
Open world μπορείς από ό,τι φαίνεται να σκοτώνεις τερατάκια για να κάνεις progress, εντάξει.
You can go do basically whatever you want. Now, the starting area is going to be easier of a fight for you, or you can attempt it and try to be a super gamer. Either way, it's a lot of fun. The difficulty is extremely high, though, if you try to basically brute force your way through everything that you find.
Μ' αρέσει αυτό, γιατί δεν μπορείς να σκυπάρεις πράγματα. Άμα είναι δύσκολο και πέθανε από 3 τερατάκια γύρω του, νομίζω ότι...
You're going to have a hard time with that, and I think that Dark Souls fans will really enjoy that overall. As far as the main story goes, this is the most gripping main storyline I've probably actually encountered of the MMO.
Bam! Fatality, μαλάκα.
In mind that my MMO experience involves Black Desert Online.
Πολύ σκληρό και Darkilla, πάρα πολύ ωραίο.
In which case, that's primarily the reason you're playing the game. Sounds are definitely a little bland. They're not walking around and doing stuff like we see. You can see them actively engaging in something.
Ναι, τα NPC δεν είναι active, εντάξει, μπορούν να το κάνουν αργότερα.
In Dark Souls.
Βλέπουμε ένα εξωγηνοειδές, ας πούμε, boss, δεν ξέρω τι φάση. Φαίνεται πολύ ωραίο, σαν πρώτη όψη.
And then your attack roll that you've got, but like very Dark Souls style combat, which I think a lot of
πρέπει να μάθεις από ό,τι φαίνεται τις κινήσεις του boss για να το περάσεις. Θα έχει σίγουρα πολλά wipes, αποκλείεται να το βγάζεις έτσι εύκολα.
Twin axes and I was trying to cheese it a little bit because the bosses are hard, man. What do you want from me?
Βλέπουμε 2 μπάρες. Η μία μπάρα είναι το health και από κάτω μπάρα είναι το σεσέ. Δηλαδή, αν σπάσεις την κάτω μπάρα, είναι σαν πόστουρ, όπως λέει στο Σέκυρο. Είναι σαν στάγκερ η κάτω μπάρα.
Overall, I have nothing but good things to say about the combat. Is it as smooth as Black Desert Online? No, it is not. So, aside from BDO and Lost Ark, specifically, I would
Δεν είναι αρκετά smooth, λέει. Εντάξει, οκ.
say it sits just below those two games in terms of overall combat and immersion. And it's certainly better than any of the tab target MMOs that we see out there. It's better than ESO, which is an action combat, and the other action combat MMOs that we've seen in the genre. Very
Το combat εμένα μου αρέσει, μου φαίνεται όντως Dark Souls φέρνει.
quickly. You want to be able to move and jump at the same time, which you can do in this game, but like it's not nearly as smooth.
Το dash είναι σαν το Sekiro.
This WoW, and it doesn't. There's like the inertia is blocking a lot of that smoothness early on in the combat. So
μπρος πίσω μπορείς να παίξεις. Να πάμε.
Like it, and they will feel familiar with it because of if you're familiar with Dark Souls or even other action combat MMOs, it will be familiar in that regard, but it won't be too hard. Like Black Desert, for example, has a very difficult to approach combat system that almost has too much depth and is scary.
Έχει pods, βλέπουμε εδώ πέρα έχει 2 όπλα μπροστά του, πιθανόν να μπορεί να τα αλλάζει. 1, 2, 3, 4 skill. Από εδώ μάλλον είναι passive, δεν γνωρίζουμε ακόμα. Εδώ φαίνεται να έχει τα items, ok.
For people to kind of get into initially, so no worries really there. There are not key inputs, like you're not pressing Shift F into Shift E into SF. No, you are pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then swapping weapons, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 again on the other weapons. So you are going to have these things bound to your quick slots, and you're going to be using them based on your keyboard.
Πολύ ενδιαφέρον αυτό. Δεν χρειάζεται να έχεις 12-15 κουμπιά και να παίζεις πιανάκι. Είναι λίγο πιο συγκεκριμένα τα κουμπιά. Μου θυμίζει λίγο Genshin Impact αυτό το style. Το ότι αλλάζω όπλο και παίζω 1, 2, 3, 4.
Again, you're going to be dodging like you are in Dark Souls, constantly swapping weapons back and forth. I did not really feel... Initially, I was a little discouraged that there weren't combos like we see in BDO, but I'll be honest with you, it's better. It makes it more approachable, and again, the combat is dynamic enough that you really don't feel the difference almost at all. You can still get combos off, and it feels very satisfying. Okay.
Ωραία, παίζουμε με combo. Μοιάζει λίγο με το Black Desert Online, λέει, αλλά είναι λίγο καλύτερα φτιαγμένο.
So, let's talk about again. I already touched on this a little bit. The difficulty
κοίτα την ατμόσφαιρα πάλι.
Of the world. You are going to find things that are extremely hard to kill.
Από ό,τι φαίνεται είναι τύπου, ξέρεις, μπορεί να είσαι σε μια περιοχή που είναι κάποια level και να έχει κάποια world boss που δεν μπορείς να το χώσεις όλο. Μάλλον θα θέλουν party, θα έχουν ιδιαίτερα moves. Έχει να μαζεύεις πέτρες, να κόβεις ξύλα φαντάζομαι. Τι άλλο μπορεί να έχει, ελπίζω να μην έχει ψάρεμα.
You can do alchemy, processing, crafting, anything that you want, and it will level you up at a...
Δεν είπε για ψάρεμα, είπε όλα τα άλλα εκτός από ψάρεμα.
Solid pace. This isn't like other sandbox MMOs, and again, I will compare it to Black Desert in this case, where you do get EXP for gathering, but it's not very much. No. I leveled up like 4 times just by gathering on logs. Okay, this is how this game works. It wants you, it actively encourages you to not just follow the main story, to not just be that cookie cutter MMO player. It wants you to go out and explore the systems of the game, and it will reward you for doing this. So the difficulty.
Σημαντικό, πολύ σημαντικό και αυτό, μ' αρέσει, ότι δεν χρειάζεται κάθε φορά να κάνεις το ίδιο πράγμα, που είναι πολύ βαρετό μερικές φορές να κάθεσαι να κάνεις το ίδιο main story, το straight line. Σου δίνει αρκετά rewards για να κάνεις και side quest. Οπότε συμφέρει, μ' αρέσει. Έχει άλογο. Εντάξει, ωραίο το άλογο.
Guild Wars 2, you're constantly encouraged to go discover new areas, try and participate in dynamic questing and events and various things, and you're always encouraged to try to go explore because the game rewards you for exploring. Chrono Odyssey is the pinnacle of this.
Okay.
Cool loot and like best in slot gear at the end of it, at least for the closed.
Έχει chest για να λουτάρεις, ωραίο. Τι λες τώρα ρε, αυτό το παίρνει από το Dark Souls εντελώς, δηλαδή αυτό είναι από το Dark Souls.
time where it's like, oh yeah, I can totally go to that one area of the world and kill those mobs for like, 3 hours.
Okay.
You guys can find it very quickly in the
Gather φυτά βλέπουμε εδώ.
for flax. You're going to be able to find
Έχουμε map, αρκετά minimal.
opportunities. But the crafting, the alchemy, the cooking, the processing, all of that is very reminiscent of the New World systems, just a little bit expanded on overall. Now,
Μοιάζει πολύ με το New World όλο το crafting system και έχει αλχημία, που επίσης όλο αυτό μοιάζει, απλά είναι πιο εξελιγμένο. Βλέπουμε εδώ inventory, φοράς 2 όπλα, έχει να φορέσεις armor, head, παντελόνι, γάντια, μπότες και 4 accessory, ring belt κτλ. Και έχεις, και τα potion, μπορείς να έχεις 4 potion και εργαλεία. Έχει pickaxe, είναι λίγο Minecraft.
It is a lot of fun leveling up your life skills because you use all of these things. I used logging, hoe gathering, mining, and butchering, all of it, in order to craft like 2 or 3 pieces of gear. I needed everything. So I found myself...
Αυτό θα είναι λίγο δύσκολο, μου θυμίζει λίγο Lineage σε αυτό το κομμάτι, ότι πρέπει να ασχοληθείς με όλα για να καταφέρεις να κραφτάρεις κάποιο piece of gear που χρειάζεσαι, οπότε θα το δούμε.
Going to the crafting menu being like, how do I find that? Oh, well,
Κοίτα, είναι ενδιαφέρον αυτό γιατί σκοτώνει τους pay to win. Δηλαδή, αν πρέπει να τα κραφτάρεις και δεν μπορείς να αγοράσεις έτοιμα τα materials ή έτοιμη τη στολή, σκοτώνει τους pay to win, που μου αρέσει πάρα πολύ αυτό. Θέλουμε free to play παιχνίδια.
That would be on that plant. So I guess we're just going to go to this area of the world. Oh, there it is right there. Let's go. And then we would go out and we would gather that resource for a while and then it helped me craft better gear and this was a lot of fun.
Ενδιαφέρον, από το να σκοτώνεις συνέχεια τέρατα από εδώ και από εκεί, μόνο αυτό μπορείς να κάνεις explore και να προχωρήσεις.
Very polished to me. There were not as many, like there were bugs and things like this, but overall the game was very playable and I could invest into it. So there's a bounty system where you can pick up a bounty in a town to try to find a very specific mob that is named like an elite. If this was World of Warcraft Classic, these would be elite quests. Okay, these are
bounty, δεν ξέρω τι εννοεί, ίσως σαν το GTA λες. Μπορεί να ανοίγει timer και να έχει συγκεκριμένο χρόνο για να πάρεις ένα bounty και να τσακώνεις το όλοι μεταξύ σας full PvP. Μ' αρέσει αυτό, μ' αρέσει.
Bosses that you will walk into, but I do know that you can kill those open world bosses solo because I did it once about 10 minutes before the server went down. I went back to the boss that had farmed me the entire time in my closed beta. I was like, screw this. I had spent the whole time crafting, clearing dungeons, progressing my character, pushing really hard for 16 hours or so, only to come back to this boss and barely clear him right before the servers went down, which felt really good. And I did that solo. So anything that you can do in a group, for the most part, you can also do solo. But you can, again, most of the group PvE content...
Δεν βασίζεσαι αναγκαστικά στο group, μπορείς να τα κάνεις και solo. Αυτό είναι πολύ σημαντικό για κάποιους παίκτες που δεν τους αρέσει να είναι με παρέα.
Around for half an hour to do this boss in this closed beta because I was constantly engaging. I never found myself wanting for any sort of more PvE content at the time. And to be clear, they did kind of gate us to a relatively small aspect of the map.
Μπήκε στο Nether.
To get played in this closed beta, I was not able to explore everything that the map had to offer. Like there was still always more for me to be able to do basically around the world.
Όπα, είδα double jump. Ωραίο το double jump.
I did get to explore each of the systems.
Φαίνεται να έχει και cooldown εδώ κάτω το double jump.
But there was just always going to be more Easter eggs, more things to discover, more areas to explore, etc. More bosses to uncover as well and kill. Like that, there was just always more.
Έχει και climb, δηλαδή δεν κατάφερε να μπει, αλλά κατάφερε να πηδήξει πάνω και να κρατηθεί. Σημαντικό.
To do for PvE. So not much but good things to say other than that the PvE content is challenging, guys. Just bear in mind, this is not for the faint of heart. And so it's going to encourage you to group up with other people and try it. One final note on the dungeons. Some of the dungeons, like the hidden dungeons in the open world, are solo.
Έχει αρκετό solo content.
away from you the whole time. There are gap closing abilities. I can pull people, especially as a berserker. I felt I could pull people in. They couldn't just necessarily kite me the entire time, although that is what a ranger is going.
Ο Χασάπης, κοίτα εδώ. Ωραίο αυτό, μου αρέσει αυτό το class. Μπορεί και να φτιάξω berserker. Μπορείς να κάνεις pull τους εχθρούς, μπορείς να τους πρόξεις, λέει. Άρα έχουμε αρκετά σε σε.
Going to try to do to you if you're a berserker, but if you're solid, you can use the terrain to your advantage. You can try to.
Από ό,τι βλέπουμε μπορείς να φτιάξεις ό,τι παίχτη γουστάρεις.
Use your movement speed buffs and your self buffs, and then again pulls and various CC abilities to your advantage to try to engage in open world PvP, which has been a lot of fun. I can absolutely see this. As far as the guild stuff goes, it was very primitive, so I didn't see any way to declare war on another guild. But again, they said that they had deliberately disabled a lot of that content because, well, there's just not enough people to do GVGs in a closed beta session like this. So I'm hoping that when the game actually does come out, you absolutely should have, like this, it's all set up in a way that you should have war versus war decks against various guilds in the game, and then you should be rewarded.
Και εγώ θα ήθελα να πάει καλά το GVG, απλά δεν θα ήθελα να είναι 100 με 100 άτομα, γιατί δεν μπορείς να κάνεις, να επεξεργαστείς τη σκηνή. Άμα βλέπεις 100 αντιπάλους, δεν είναι random, είναι εντελώς random. Ένα GVG είναι καλό 20x20, 30x30. Αυτό είναι ένα καλό GVG. Άντε 50x50, αλλά όχι στο ίδιο σημείο όλοι, γιατί γίνεται χαμός. Δεν μπορείς να πολεμήσεις έτσι.
For being able to kill other adventurers, but if you don't want to participate in PvP, you should be able to just turn on the PvE mode and kind of avoid it altogether. Now, I was also told that there.
Okay, αρκετά PvE για PvE παίχτες accessible. Από ό,τι είπε εδώ ότι μπορείς να σταματήσεις τελείως να μην κάνεις PvP καθόλου και να παίξεις το παιχνίδι PvE. Okay.
Trying to step away from a massively large-scale PvP. So if you're a Throne and Liberty fan, I've got some bad news for you. It was very unlikely that you will see massive massive PvP aside from big open world GVGs, which are very possible. I think that the developers are trying to keep it under about 40 players in a given.
Ναι ρε φίλε, αυτό ήθελα. Πάλι καλά, γιατί δεν γίνεται πραγματικά, δεν θέλω καθόλου να είναι 3 δισεκατομμύρια παίχτες. Μ' αρέσει. Αυτό με το 40 players, 40 είπε 14 τώρα, δεν είμαι σίγουρος, anyways. Είναι τρομερό, μάλλον 40 είπε.
Now there are 100 members allowed per guild, which is pretty large overall, but I think that the game can absolutely handle it. That does not mean that we're not going to see 25 to 40 man content in PvP. They have not confirmed anything like that, but they have certainly.
25 με 40 άτομα λέει, δεν το έχουν επιβεβαιώσει ακόμα αυτό, αλλά πιθανότατα να είναι αυτό.
Alluded to content like that being involved in the game, and then GVG content being a large part of their open world PvP experience as well. And I certainly, again, when I engaged in the PvP, it did not feel clunky. It didn't feel helpless as a melee character. It felt like I could actually engage and fight somebody, even though, again, both of us were relatively new to PvP in Chrono Odyssey. We were all using our abilities and trying to engage to the best of our ability. And I'm very excited for it because the.
Okay. Πολύ Dark Souls φέρνει, γενικά όλα τα εφέ, τον τρόπο που πολεμάει. Παρ' όλα αυτά είναι MMORPG, βασίζεται και στο Gear. Είναι το πιο ενδιαφέρον game που έχω δει τον τελευταίο καιρό. Αυτό ήταν λοιπόν. Εγώ είμαι πολύ χαρούμενος με αυτά που είδα. Αναμένουμε release date για να κάνουμε join όλοι μαζί μες στο game.